Welcome to Quickflicks. In an age of modern cinema, we've been getting a lot of space-themed films, from Interstellar to Gravity, First Man to even the Guardians of the Galaxy films. However, I feel that in the past decade or so, hard science fiction has been lost in the shuffle, and that is where we get to Ad Astra. Written and directed by James Gray, Ad Astra tells the story of Roy McBride, played by Brad Pitt, who has to go on a secret mission to the Lima Project, a once-thought lost crew of people held by McBride's father, played by Tommy Lee Jones. Roy is on a timer, however, because on the Lima Project is some sort of doomsday device that threatens humanity. I have a bit of an issue with this film, but before we get into the negatives, I want to list some of the positives. Firstly, the cinematography by Hoyt van Hoytema looks stunning. Part of the charm of the film is that cinematically it looks beautiful enough to put in art museums. Tommy Lee Jones gives a performance that is good and highlights the problems of trying so hard to achieve a dream that may not be there. The film takes a sort of nihilistic approach to our fascination with extraterrestrial life. If you don't believe me, just take a look at the Area 51 raid. The film has things to say about toxic behaviors, especially in the work environment. Themes about abandonment, childhood trauma, finding happiness in oneself, all these transcend the basic plot of the film. It comes as a shock, however, to say that all these great themes and elements are wasted as the execution isn't that great. In fact, it's boring. People said Interstellar was boring, but at least there was some humanity put into it. I will never fail to cry when Matthew McConaughey realizes that he missed most of his life with his daughter while on his mission in Interstellar. The biggest issue with this film is a lack of emotion. Sure, you could say that this lack of emotion from the main character is supposed to reflect toxic masculinity in the sense that we bottle up our emotions and avoid becoming emotional on extremely dangerous missions, but this film should have been more emotional. The connection between Roy and his dad is well written, but in execution, you think there'd be more emotion in it. If I found out after 11 years my dad was still alive, I'd break down and go to my therapist. But the shock of that isn't found too much in Roy. You know who did the father stuff better and touched on childhood trauma and abuse better? A film that some people think that isn't that good? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
That's a fake laugh.
It's real!
Totally fake.
That is the most real, authentic, hysterical laugh of my entire life!
One of the keys to a boring film is too much exposition, especially in voiceover. The voiceover in this film is so unnecessary. This film obviously has a lot of world-building details in the backgrounds and foregrounds that inform us of our near-future world James has written. Things like the way Earth colonized the moon and how it basically is a copy-paste of our own world filled with capitalism and is basically a huge airport for spacecraft. Sorry, Tim Curry.
Space!
However, these details get redundant with the monologues that are put over them from Roy. We can clearly see what is happening. Please stop hammering it into our skulls and let us just be enveloped in the world. Remember WALL-E's excellent first act? You get everything you need to know about Earth and its remaining inhabitant without any dialogue. Plus, the main character isn't monologuing to himself, he's just living, and we learn a lot about him as a character. It became clear to me that as I watched the film, that the film was trying to be as profound as 2001: A Space Odyssey. However, the thing about that film is that it allowed the viewer to make their own assumptions about what it's about, without the need for boring or redundant monologues. Explaining things to the audience is insulting. It's talking down to the audience and not letting them think about what it's about. I also understand it's also influenced from Terrence Malick, but his monologues have a purpose and at times sound very beautiful. Sure, his later films became visual verbal poems, but his early works like Tree of Life were actually great. There was one scene on the moon that felt like it was a studio note to add some action in the film, but really it came off as forced. Look, if you like the film, that is fine, but the film doesn't stand up as a piece of entertainment. I believe you could put meaning into a film and make it entertaining. Films are to have themes and ideas to get across, and I understand that. However, just like with the Goldfinch, themes are not the only things needed to make a good film. Ad Astra is a bit disappointing. It has so much going for it. A-list casting, a script that has deeper meanings beyond its plot, fantastic visuals and cinematography, but it comes off as boring and pretentious. When I got out of my theater, most of the audience came out saying it was boring and that they nearly fell asleep. Ad Astra gets a C-. Thank you guys so much for listening in on my review of Ad Astra. I'm currently finishing up editing on a couple other videos, including a video about the Nostalgia Critic's recent review about Pink Floyd's The Wall, so stay tuned for that. And I can't wait to talk about it. See you in the next video. Peace.